Okay, my final wrap up and journey back to New Zealand. So it was, I left plenty of time, got the slow train from Jiaxing to South, Shanghai South Railway Station, and from there caught the subway to Pudong Airport in Shanghai. Once again, the generosity at the subway. To buy a ticket now, you can't buy it manually. You have to buy it through a machine. And yes, there is English, but there's so many different subway tracks in Shanghai, and it was difficult for me to find Pudong, the end station. Now, I knew I had to change subway somewhere along the line, but I was having a lot of trouble. And so I asked the guy next to me, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to the same place." So I said, "I'll just buy your ticket here." So he bought me the ticket. It was just a card which electronically signs you in and out. So I asked him how much, and he said, "No, nothing." And this is, again, just a typical reaction from the Chinese people. Yes, it was only $1.40 to buy, but it's not about that. It was the principle, just the generosity of them. And sure, maybe amongst themselves they wouldn't do that, but foreigners are just treated so special over there by the people, not the government. So on the subway, and I overshot where I was meant to change subways by about 4 stations, so I had to backtrack, and got to Pudong, and that was all smooth sailing. When I checked in, I asked the lady there about my bags. I said they'll be delivered to Auckland and then transferred to Christchurch. I don't have to pick them up, do I? She said, "No, you'll just pick them up at Christchurch." And I remember flying back thinking that's a little strange, because I'm going to be on a domestic flight from Auckland to Christchurch. So I was thinking I should have put more smokes on there, because I'm not going to be checking that one. So 11 and a half hours later, I'm back in New Zealand, and I dozed on and off in the plane, but it didn't feel like a long flight. I know in the past I just hated the flight, it's just so long. But that was all fine. So I arrived in New Zealand, and we were a little late, but by the time I got to the domestic air terminal, my plane was ready to go. They'd taken the travelway, or whatever it's called, that connects the plane. It had left, and the gates were closed, and there was about 8 others who were on the same flight as I were. They arrived about 5 minutes later. So a rep came out and said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll just get you on the next plane." And I said, "Well, what about my bag? Is it on that plane, or is it going to be on the next one?" And he said, "Oh, you should have picked your bag up at the International." So I said, "Is that where it is now?" And yes, it was. So now I've got to traipse back to International, and they told me where to go to get it. And unfortunately, they had examined it and found all my smokes, and after about 3 hours of interrogations and doing the paperwork, they fined me just over $1,000 for having the smokes. Now, it didn't help, I guess, having them like in containers like this. So I was trying to conceal them. And when I finally got that, I have to go back to domestic. And at this stage, all I want to do is get on the next plane and come back to China. So I've got about 3 hours to fill in. So I go to a smoking area, and for a smoker in China, in Pudong, you can't get into the airport with a lighter. So they confiscated them at the start. And I remember going through the first security, and they found 2 lighters in my check-in luggage, which I had to go back and retrieve. And I'm thinking, okay, you got those, but I didn't get the one that's still in my pocket, you bastards. But then at the next checkpoint, they found the one in my pocket, so I was screwed. So I am now in the smoking area in Auckland Airport. And for a smoker, there's nothing worse than having a cigarette and no lighter. So, okay, no worries. In the smoking one, there'll be some other people there. They'll have a lighter. But no, there was 4 or 5 people there, and none of them had a lighter. They're all on the bloody vapes. So eventually somebody came that did have a lighter. So I still got about 3 hours to kill. So I made a couple of video calls and wandered across the airport, obviously frustrated and annoyed about the $1,000 fine. It didn't sort of worry me in that, you know, I've probably made this trip maybe 10 times, and every time I've brought anywhere up to like 10 cartons through and never been caught. So I guess I'm just paying duty for some of the ones I've imported before. Now, if I had picked my bag up at International, I would have got straight through. I mean, once they saw my card, they just said, just go on through, don't have to scan anything. So I would have been right. So I can't say I got screwed, but I mean, I should have just thought more about it, that this can't be right, that my bag is going straight through to Christchurch. Anyway, so now I've got 3 hours to fill in, and sweating, and I've already rung David and Trish saying I'm possibly a bit late, and then finally, well, I've got no chance of being there in time. So my plans were sort of turned upside down. So now I've got a few hours to kill. So as I said, I talked to a couple of people, and then I thought, I don't usually drink beer. I thought I deserve a beer. So I had to go to the toilet. I went to the toilet and then went to the bar, or to whatever it is, and got a beer, and they asked what size, and I said, it needs to be big and it needs to be cold. So I sat down. I was going to do a video of me sitting down with a beer, just finally relaxing after getting my bag and everything sort of sorted out. Where's my friggin' phone? So I went through my carry-on about 6 times, and often lately, I don't know whether it's early signs of Alzheimer's or whatever, quite often I just can't find something that's obviously right in front of me. It could be a passport or keys to the car, anything like that. And I'm thinking, I must have missed it somewhere. I go through my bags again, and I'm retracking okay, I went to the toilet, I went to the smoking area. So obviously I'm jet lagged, I'm tired, I'm not thinking clearly. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to the toilet, because maybe it's in there, could have fallen out of my pocket. I couldn't find the toilet, and it was close to where I was having the beer. So I trudged back to where my beer was and my other bags. And so I asked the guy that was in the next table, could he just ring my telephone? And then luckily somebody answered it, and it was at the help desk. And yes, I'd left it in the toilet. On recollection, I can remember putting it on sort of the toilet roll holder. And so, I mean, I was just in another position. If someone's stolen it, I mean, it's doubtful at an airport that someone would steal it. I'm sort of screwed again, because I can't tell my son what time I'm leaving to pick me up. And so it was a big relief when it was at the information centre, went and got it, and probably smooth sailing from there on. But yeah, just all I wanted to do was get another plane, go back to China, where everything seems to be organised and in order. I also got caught at the Chinese security having alcohol in my carry-on. So the guy said I could go back and check it in again, but that meant going through security, through immigration again, and going down. I don't know how they would get it into my checked in luggage anyway. And I thought, oh, it's not worth worrying about anyway. I'll just, they can confiscate it and that's fine. But I still had some baijiu in my checked in luggage for the guys back here that might have been interested, so that was okay. And that's about it really. So arrived back at Methven after having dinner with Lee and the family about 9 o'clock, I guess. And the thing that I've most missed about being away from New Zealand is something that's probably a little unlikely, that I don't think any of you would have guessed, is being able to have cereal in the morning. So yeah, first thing I've done this morning is ducked down to Foursquare, bought some milk and enjoyed a plate of cereal. Anyway, that's my trip back, and got a bridge tournament on Sunday, tomorrow, and I actually had a good sleep last night and woke up about 6:30 New Zealand time, which would have been about 1:30 Chinese time, I guess, and about ready to face the world again as we know it in New Zealand. Okay, thanks everyone for putting up with my videos, and glad that so many of you have enjoyed them, and I'll see you either at the Bridge Club or, depending on who you are, whenever. Okay, cheers.